Welcome very much to everybody here who listen to us on podcasts and those who watch us on YouTube. And I have a great pleasure today to welcome Mr. Bart Deprez. As I was just saying, it's the first time I call someone like this, like Mr. or Mrs., but this one is Mr. Bart Deprez. So welcome and great pleasure to have you here.
Hello, everybody. So yes, I'm here in Belgium, and welcome everybody in my coffee house, as you see behind me. And today I think we're going to have a chat about something.
About something, yes. It's something that's been current and very obvious in a specialty coffee scene. And for many reasons, some absolutely love it, and some just stay away from it. And but that's also why it's interesting. You're not neutral about it, and it's because there's a lot at stake, and there's a lot to talk about. And this thing is the Coffee Championships, coffee competitions. And we talk about the different ones that exist and the ones that Bart have been really involved in the last years. And I'm really looking forward to have a deep chat about it.
Okay.
So because you do have this large coffee house behind you.
Yes.
That's your main business, I suppose.
Well, the main business is in fact the roastery itself, where we roast the coffee and that we deliver to the horeca, hotels, restaurants. And it all started in 1987 when my father had a small shop here in Kortrijk, which is about 300 meters from this venue. And he starting to roast coffee, and it started growing, and now we have the roastery outside of the town. And in 2012 we wanted to do something new, and so we opened this it's about 700 square meters coffee house in the center of Kortrijk. It's on the main square of Kortrijk, so everybody is welcome as soon as the borders are open again.
It's huge, and that's why I was wondering whether it was a warehouse, but no, it's on a central square.
Yeah, it's on the center square. Yes.
It's very nice. As I was like, the first time I joked with him when I saw I've never been there, but when I saw it, I thought it was Viva Sara Reserve, because it reminded me of the big ones.
We started in 2012, so we were the first ones.
way ahead.
Way ahead.
So yes, I'm looking forward to pay you a visit over there. So that's a business that you open with your brother, right?
Yeah, so my father started it together with my mother, and now I continue this with my brother and myself. Yeah, and the staff, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was your parents, so it's a family business. So you grew up in Belgium. Can you tell us quickly where you come from, and if you actually grew up in the roastery?
Well, so I was born here in Kortrijk, not so long time ago. But my father didn't work in coffee at all in the beginning. He worked with his brother-in-law in construction. And in 87, so he wanted to do something new. And so he just bought a roaster, a 12 kg Probat. He found a location here in Kortrijk and he started to roast the coffee. And he convinced the first client that our coffee was better than the other one. Luckily, it worked out. And then from the second to the third, the fourth, and then the first restaurant bought coffee from us, and that's how it started. Yeah.
So how did you see your father's business at the start? Did you fall in love right away, or how did it happen for you?
Well, and my brother and myself, we were in a school, so when we slept at school at the internat. So.
Oh, I thought you slept during the class. No.
Also, yeah, sometimes. But so we were never at home during the week. And then when my father started the business, at Friday night, we came to the coffee shop, and it was open 7 on 7. So he never closed. He only closed on Christmas and New Year and Easter, that was the only days that he were closed. So we had to help him on Saturdays and Sundays. So I think I was 12 or 13 or something. So I started selling coffee. I didn't have any clue of coffees that I was selling, but hey, I saw a blonde lady in front of me and I thought, you will like this coffee. And that's how I started selling coffee.
Okay.
Not telling lies, but telling, you will like it. And they liked it. So it started. But then I went to the hotel school here in Belgium, and I started to know flavors, aromas. So that at that point, I was really interested in food and everything around it. And then I had opportunities and luck. I was lucky to do some internships abroad in this country or in England or in the US. And then the last time I did high school also. And then the last internship, my father said, hey, you're leaving now for 6 months. When you come back, I need to know if you will come into the company with the roastery or if you will continue in the Horeca hotel business.
He had plans for you.
He had plans for me. So when after 3 months, I called him and I said, hey, Daddy, I made up my mind. I will continue the company together with my brother. And then when I came back 3 months later, he already bought a new terrain and he wanted to build a new roastery. So, and we were growing. Yeah.
All right. So it was early, but a fast start for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a very early start. So you know how to sell coffee for sure. You have experience with that.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So how did you get involved in the first time with the rest of the coffee community?
Well, the first time was I think in 2005, 2006, when we saw the World Championships of coffee, and then the SCA Belgium chapter organized for the first time championships here in Belgium, and my brother wanted to compete.
Okay.
I was his coach, and then you had the day of the competition, and he said, "No, I'm going alone. I don't want anybody to go with me because I'm going to be so stressed." And so he took his car, filled with everything in the trunk, and then he went to the competitions. And that was the first round. It wasn't the finals yet, but the first round. And he came back and he won the first round to go to the finals. So then with the finals, I went with him to help him a little bit. And so he became the first Belgian national champion. And he went to Bern, and it didn't go that well in Bern. So he ended 37th, I guess. He went overtime. He was too stressed. Something fell on the ground. And so no, it didn't went that well. But from there on, he was so motivated to do it better. So he competed again the next year. He won again. So, and we could go to Tokyo, Seoul.
Wow.
So we went over there, and there he became 15th of the worlds. So much better. And then he wanted to compete again, and then the Belgian chapter said, no. We will ask you not to compete again.
Is that allowed? What?
Oh, no, it was not allowed, but maybe in that period it was allowed. I didn't know. I was only a coach. And then we were so angry that we asked a client of us here in the coffee shop, who is a physicist, has nothing to do with coffee, but he likes coffee. And we asked him, "Hi, do you want to become a Belgian champion barista?"
Okay.
And he said, yes. So we trained him, and he was like a sponge. He took everything that we said. He didn't know anything about coffee, but he did exactly the things that we asked him to do. So he became Belgian champion. And then for the fourth year, again, we did it with another person, with Melanie, and she became also the Belgian champion. So she went to Atlanta.
Okay. Wow. You have a golden hand, right?
Yeah. So that's how we entered the championships world. And then we stopped doing the coaching, and because it's a lot of work, you know that. So we stopped doing that. And then I became stage manager at the Belgian championships, because in every country where you start the championships, you're always running late. You're never on time. You have technical problems, and
So,
you have.
can you tell us what is a stage manager? What is because everything that you said includes that, but why do we need a stage manager really?
Well, if you have a good stage manager, he or she is responsible that everything behind the scenes are running smoothly. Normally, with a good stage manager, the audience will never notice it. They will not see the issues that are backdoor or with judges, or you have a technical issue. He has to or she has to manage everything. So the competitors needs to be on time, the judges needs to be on time, the machines needs to be cleaned. So you have the volunteers, you have a whole bunch of people behind you, you have a team, but somebody has to direct them and help them if there are any issues. Right. So that's how I started to doing it in Belgium, and I make the plan, and my famous plan that they're using in a lot of countries now. And it worked out. So we had to finish at, I don't remember anymore, but for example, at 6 p.m. And I think the first time I did it, we finished at 6:05 or something like that. So not bad.
Applause everybody. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, did it actually work in the first time? But apparently it did.
Yes.
And I have to say, so that's for those who don't know Bart yet. This is as I'm talking for myself. That's the first time I saw you. It was a stage manager in the French championship, because you also do that now in different countries, and you've been doing that for many years. I suppose you'll tell us about it afterwards, maybe. But it was quite amazing to see like how you run this thing very quietly, always with a smile. It's you make it easy but it's there's so much work beforehand, I suppose, because all that famous planning you have. I mean, you have to be organized for that, and of course, you work with other people, the people who look for volunteers, and the people who are responsible for different competitions. So there's good communication skills to have, I suppose, because you're always communicating with everybody. Actually, you're the centerpiece.
It's always being on time, starting on time, which is one of the most important things, that you start on time in the morning, and then once you have all the people going, once you're in the flow, normally it follows them. But you need to start in the morning on the right time. Mm-hmm. And with every competitor, sometimes in France, we had 30, 40 competitors a day, if you count all the competitions together. So if you lose only 2 minutes per competitor, it's 80 minutes. It's 1 hour and a half, almost 2 hours. So it goes so fast. 2 minutes is nothing, but if you calculate it per candidate, then it's going really fast. Yeah. And that's how, because Michael McCauley in France, who is the organizer of the competitions, he has a really skill of organizing things and also the schedule. And then he sent it to me, and I fixed it a little bit, 1 minute there and 2 minutes there, and then at the end you come to a real good schedule. So we worked always really well together. So
yes, you're definitely the pair, the duet of the French championship, for sure. Yeah. And a few other people, of course, that are always been there.
Stage manager, I think he knows all the sides. So because I was a coach of my brother, so I know a little bit the competition side. You know how it works backstage, the stress, the last minute problems. So you know how to deal with that. As at that time, I was also an international judge. So I know how it is to judge, to calibrate, and how to, after a candidate comes off the scene, you have to go backstage and you have to talk. And it's so easy to talk 15 minutes about the person. It goes so fast. So I had to use a whip and say, hey guys, you have 5 minutes left, and then you have to be on the stage. Yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I will never forget, a judge asking me, "Hey, yeah, we have to go on stage, but can I go to the toilet?" I said, "No, you had 5 minutes. I had a 5-minute warning, so no, you have to come on stage.
Yes, and just handle it for 10 minutes. It's fine.
Just do it. Wait for 15 more minutes." Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so can we go back a little and because we are talking about the coffee competitions, but what are they? These coffee competitions? When did they start? And which one was the first one? And then what was added along the years? Can you make a brief history of these coffee competitions?
Yeah, sure. So it's 21 years ago that the first competition was held, and it was the barista competition. Don't think it is in the same format as today, but it was just an idea of how to formalize, to make an espresso, to make a cappuccino, and things like that. And so they wanted to compete with that. So it was, a long time ago. You had judges didn't have judges paper. It was just like, yeah, I like this, I didn't like it. It was totally different as now. And so it was the barista competition the first time. Yeah. And they just had to say, yeah, I like it, I don't like it, and they appointed a winner and a champion. So it was totally different. And then the rules became more complex because competitors, they like to bend the rules. So for example, one rule is judges cannot eat during the presentation. Well, that rule came, for example, because there was a judge in a national competition that didn't have time to eat. So during the competition, he took a sandwich and he was eating the sandwich.
Yeah, it sounds very stupid today, but yeah, of
Today
course.
it sounds really stupid, but all those rules became, because there was one problem one at a time. So, for example, you cannot add any flavor in the portafilter. Why not? Well, one time that somebody added mint in the portafilter in that coffee, and so the whole machine had the flavor of mint. And so, let's add something in the rules.
Right. And so every time a barista or a competitor in general does something that, he was clever enough, because I mean, at least you can say that, huh? Because you read the rules, because that's number one rule, is to read the rules, right? And
Exactly.
if you can use the rules to your advantage, especially if the other competitors don't do it or don't think about it, then that's just the way it is. And so I guess what happens after that? There's like a committee that decides to change the rule.
Yeah. So every year. If I come back a little bit, so I was a national judge after my brother competed. So I was national judge, and then I did my exam to become an international judge, and then I judged also some world competitions. And so after every year, so a year in a coffee year, the new year starts when we have a new champion.
Okay.
So it's not the 1st of January, it's not the 1st of June. So when we have a new champion in whatever competition it is, so the new year of the next season starts. And then a few weeks after the World Championships, all the judges, they have to make a report, and then we ask a lot of questions, and we are thinking about changing the rules step by steps for the next year. So if we have an issue, national competitions or internationally, we will keep those changes all together, and then there is one committee that is coming together, changing, reading all the rules again, adapting them with small things, and every couple of years we try to change bigger rules.
Okay.
So not only one person, it's a committee of different people in the world.
I see. And we said it started with the baristas, and then a few more were added. How was it decided, and why all these competitions after all?
Well, because barista is so complicated and a lot of work to do. I don't really know the exact reason why they added other competitions, but I know for example, like brewers, it's a new competition, one of the newer competitions, because brewing coffee, it's totally new a few years ago. So we invented that competition, especially for the Brewers Cup. Cupping also, it's nothing to do with baristas. So every fact that you can find behind the coffee bar, we made a competition around it. So latte art, nothing to do with the baristas. It's only the art in the cup. Yeah.
Okay.
For example, a few years ago, I don't know if you still remember it, but before, in the first years of latte art, we tasted the coffee.
That's right. That's true. Yeah, and maybe it will come back. We don't know after all.
Maybe, we don't know. We don't know. Well,
of course, there's also the roasting and the coffee in good spirits for the coffee cocktails.
Exactly. And then one of the newest also is roasting. So for the roasters.
Oh, and the Turkish coffee, the Ebrik.
Yeah, that was one of the first competitions. It's always held by the SCA. So it's such a special competition. It's a small community. And I have to say, not a lot of people like that way of drinking coffee. But you can only say that because you never tasted a coffee made by a real champion. Because the first time I tasted, because me too, I didn't like that style of coffee. But once I tasted on the World Championships, the coffee, oh my God, it's so totally different.
Yeah, I do agree. And I don't know if you know any places in Belgium or elsewhere where you can drink good ones.
No.
There's one in Paris, actually. It is called Ebrik.
Okay.
The owner is originally from Romania, where they have this tradition as well. And next time you're in Paris, whenever you're able to do it, you should try Ebrik. It's It's actually it was my oh my God, it's possible.
It's possible, yes.
I do have a question on the chat that is interesting. It's from Nasco, which I would say is also a physicist. So if you want to coach him and turn him into a barista champion, I would really gladly see that.
Okay.
That would be interesting. So Nasco is asking chemists, physical chemists, let's say. Are there any people who competitors that try to cheat during competitions?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
A lot.
And you can say a lot, yeah.
A lot of that. That's why we started with a few rules, and now we have a lot of rules, and that's why a lot of people are saying this is not fun anymore because it's too complex. We have too much rules for it. That's why, because competitors were bending the rule, not really cheating, but just going around the line, just coloring outside of the square lines. So we had to adapt the rules. That's, if you can call that cheating, it happens a lot. Really cheating, there are some examples, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Not name names.
No, that's not the point. But yeah, if you've been to competitions, you've seen stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also part of it, I would say. But it's there are always, when you watch soccer and you see someone falling for nothing, it's it's also something like this that happens
in a football match. Normally you have the judge who has a yellow card, a red card, and then now you have the VAR, so the people aside who have videos and they can review it. We don't have that in the barista or any of the World Coffee competitions.
Good point. What do you think about this? Do you think it's going to be something to put in place?
Well, when there is a the championship seasons, I'm sorry. The WCE receives a lot of complaints. The problem is that they only come a few days later, written by mail. complains that normally if they should do it the day of the competition, the head judge, or the World of Coffee, the WC representative could adapt or change or intervene. But when they come afterwards, it's so difficult. How do you need to respond to that? The competition is done. The tables, the machines are gone. We cannot start over again. So it's very difficult how to react, and we are working on that, on how can we simplify the complaints, if there are any complaints. If, for example, the coach of a competitor saw another competitor cheating, for example, not using the correct grinder in brewing or in coffee nut spirits. Yeah? Well, if you see it, complain immediately. And then maybe the judge can adapt, but not a few days later, because then it's for us as a judge, because the judge, he cannot see everything. He has to be concentrated. It's stressful for the competitor, but it's even stressful for the judge.
Yes. So advice: if you see something, tell it straight away and don't wait, or else you won't be heard. It's like a wedding. The priest tell you that's your moment to say something, or else it's gonna be too late. Same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so then we can maybe have a talk about the different roles for different actors on the competition. But can you tell us a little bit about, you were mentioning the World Coffee Events, or WCE.
Yes.
What is this, and what has been the role of the WCE?
Well, yes. So in the beginning, we had two big associations. So you had the SCAE, Specialty Coffee Association of Europe, and you had the SCAA of Americas. So those were two different organizations. The competitions were property of the SCAE, so from Europe. And of course, it became bigger and bigger. So the SCAA and the SCAE wanted to organize it together because both had big budgets. And if we joined forces, maybe it would be better. So they created a new association, World Coffee Events, who were organizing all the competitions. So you had a board and you have staff of the WCE who were organizing RICO, All-Stars, and all the competitions. And the members of the SCAA, SCAE could compete to those competitions. Of course, a few years ago, with the two organizations coming together, so the WCE became also part of the new SCA. So a short history.
So the WCE doesn't exist anymore?
For the outside world, it doesn't exist anymore, but internally, it's still a separate organization with a separate budget, staff members. But yeah, it's a little bit more fluid than before. But they have their own board of advisors. The SCA has their board of advisors, and I'm chair of the board of advisors of the WCE.
Yes, correct. So you told me that, because like I have to say, like you have done a lot and achieved a lot, and you've been really active in the in this different coffee championship. But I must say you're very discreet, or you're not the type of person to put yourself in front of the stage for if it's not necessary. And I actually learned that you were the chair of the WC when we first chatted about this interview. And so as the chair of that board, what is your role, and what will be your role in the next future?
Well, I just have to say first that I think I became chair of the WCE thanks of France, because as I was stage manager in Belgium, so Michael McCauley saw the things that I did, and then he came again for the second time in Belgium, and once again I ended spot on the time. And then he said, hey, we need a good stage manager in France, so don't you want to come and help us in France, because it's the first year that we will attend at SIRA, and at SIRA we need to end on top, because the building is going to close, and I expect it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I came to France, and then I started to know international judges as Jose, Sonia. Well, Sonia already met, but you know them better, and you start to know other international judges, and it started. And then they invited me in 2012 to become a member of the board of the WCE, but I denied it in 2012 because we were starting this business here. Then they asked again in 2013, and I denied it again. And then in 2014, I accepted, and I became a member of the board of advisors for the WCE.
Okay.
And
So just for the people who don't know, Sonia is an international judge and is very active in the coffee community, and she's from Iceland. And you were mentioning Jose, I think. He's from Mexico and also a really renowned international judge. And also, you were mentioning that you had to deny because you had to run your business, and I think we have to mention that it's voluntary work and it demands a lot of time. So you can't, if you're not able to put your time, that's understandable, of course.
Yeah, it's all the whole SCA and the WCE is running on volunteers. They have a small staff that are working a lot, but all the volunteers around it, that are hundreds of people. A lot of people are doing this in their free time. But it's fun. You have to do it. Yeah, it's something else than the daily routine you have. I have at my business, so I like doing that. And sometimes you have to travel, and you have to go to meetings. And in the nights, I have to read a lot. You have to respond to a lot of complaints of the competition. So you have to talk with judges. So it's a lot of work, but I like it. I like doing that. And I started in 2014 as a member. And then in 2015, I was elected as the vice president. And then in 2016, I became the chair of that board. So it's 2020, and I'm still the chair, because in 2017-18, so the SCAE and SCA became together. So we didn't have new elections for that board, and so I continue to be the chair of that board. And I want to stop this year.
Yes, for understandable reasons. We're going to talk about it after, because it's important for the competitions that are ongoing and maybe for the next one as well. Okay, so can we say a little bit about the different roles of the different people involved in the competitions? And you're saying it's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of fun also being a volunteer for the SCA and running all that outside of the competition time. But I suppose you run on the adrenaline during the competition days as well. So, so first, maybe we can start. Why do you think it's important for the coffee community as a whole, for specialty coffee, and for the people that enjoy this moment, actually? And a lot of people, join these different days. So can you tell us can you give us your take on it?
Yeah, sure. So why should a barista, a young barista, or even an older barista compete to a competition? First question, why should they do it? Why did my brother do it? Why did we do it? Well, we learned a lot, because you're going to look for new information through the internet. You will watch all the videos of future or past champions. You will chat with a lot of people. You will send emails, and you will learn a lot. You will buy new books. So it's not only to do the competition, but it's forcing yourself to learn a new method and taking small mistakes out of your daily routine and to adapt it to have a more
consistent
making of coffee in your coffee shop. So then you decided to compete, and then so you start training. You start to train your taste buds because you want to find a new flavor. Then you go to the competition, and you're going to talk to other competitors, and you will learn again, because you will see other techniques, and you will watch it and say how. And so, and you know, backstage, you know it. A lot of people know it. People are talking, and they are learning, and you have to ask questions. You have some competitors who are really quiet in the corner. Then they prepare themselves, and then they go into the audience, or they're going to watch a booth. But I've been in France for many, many, many years, and in other countries too. And I always see the ones that will be champion. It's because the years before they were asking a lot of questions to other competitors, and especially to the champions of that year. And they were looking, they were using the eyes of how to do it. Mm-hmm. All that information that you will learn, you will take it to your own business, and your business will go forward. That's why it is important for me. One of the most important things is to learn new things and to adapt your daily routine and something to the next level. And then the next thing is to bring your other baristas of your company to the same level. And so you go forward and forward. That is one of the important things. As a sponsor, for example, why do you sponsor competitions? And now I'm just thinking of, for example, the grinders. Grinders in the beginning of the competition years, so the technical judges were watching how the barista was taking the coffee, and they were counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know the old grinders. I think you still remember them. And they were counting, and me as a technical judge, I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times. Then he stops, and all of a sudden there was one smart guy on the World Championships. He put a timer on the old grinder. So he pushed the button and he waited. And we were like, oh my God, he's going to have too much coffee in his hopper, and then it will not. And then it stopped. And then he started 1, 2, 3 until it was empty. So it was consistent all the time, even if he did 4 times or 5 times things like that. No, the timer stopped the grinder and he had the same amount of coffee. So the next year, of course, the manufacturers of grinders, they saw that. So it was the invention of the grinder on demand.
That's crazy. That's just for one guy. So it's just a little bit like Formula One, you know, like when you get the innovation somewhere in a competition and then it comes into real life. And
that's how we call it now. So I don't want to call it officially the Formula One of the coffee competitions, but it's true that we are looking for the next level, even as for judges, for competitors, for the manufacturers of machines. It is something that everybody's watching to, and we are demanding more and more. So we had the grinders the first time, then we had the temperature on the machines that now is everywhere in every coffee shop. You can change the temperature. Then we had the water. Now it's normal that everybody is talking about water. Then we had the EK.
Of course.
It was almost finished with that grinder. They decided to stop the production of the EK.
And then came Matt Berger.
Matt, he used the grinder. Boom! A new way of grinding coffee, also more on demand. So we are pushing not only the baristas, not only the judges, but also the manufacturers. So the coffee shops, and then eventually our clients, they will love it and they will profit of it. Mm-hmm. So that's also a reason why it's good to have competitions.
Yeah, it's been important for the community, and because some of the great tools we have come from this, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's great to remember that, especially in the beginning, the first days. I mean, that the grinder on demand come from a competition. Who knew? Not us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And it's changing every year. Every year we have new small rules that you will see that the baristas will adapt in their coffee shops itself.
Yeah, and I mean, as a barista, a competitor, you always kind of want to be innovative in a way. Like it's because you say, oh, okay, I'm going to be in front of the judge. I don't want to be like everybody else. So I need to find something. And of course, not all innovations, not all ideas are good ideas. And how are you judged on this, like in a positive or negative way? And I suppose an innovation is only good whether if it can be turned into reality, if it's doable in a business, right?
Yeah. Not everything. Sometimes we see things, especially in coffee and good spirits. You see techniques that you say this is not possible in a normal coffee bar or in a cocktail bar. It's only possible in the Hilton Sky Lounge, where you pay a lot of money and you have time to wait for it. So it has its own business, but it's so small. But you have to put it in the correct situation. If you see a cocktail that needs 7 minutes to prepare, it will be difficult to do that in a normal bar or coffee bar. So, but yeah, if they explain it well, like, hey, this is for in a 3-star restaurant where people will like the show and they have time the whole evening, then it is the correct setting. If you're doing the same cocktail and you say, hey, this is for the a coffee bar at the train station where everybody comes in to buy quickly a coffee to go and catch the train, then you have to score it down. So it's not commercially applicable.
Yeah, indeed. So you mentioned a second actor that are the sponsors and the manufacturers. So I mean, some of them definitely were really happy to have some of the their equipment used and well used, and they benefit from it. But what is the what is at stake for the sponsors, and why? I mean, of course, for a big event like this, you need sponsors for the organizers, and you depend on them also. But why is it so important?
Well, on national level, then you have the local distributors who can sponsor a competition, and they will profit also of if it is from the same company that is sponsoring the global competitions, they will profit of that, because a lot of people are watching that. If you're looking at the World Championships on daily basis, you have 50 to 60,000 viewers on live stream. So we have a lot of expos. You are mentioned in the 70 countries that are sending a competitor. So for them, it's really important to be globally represented in the competition and all the communication that is going around with it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And how about the judges? How do you become a judge? Why would you want to do it, and how do you become also an international judge? Because that's definitely another level of.
It's another level. It is interesting for everybody who is in the coffee community to do a judge's training. It's how to score correctly on a scale, and how to address to the competitor or to the coach explaining why you gave only a 2 or why you gave a 5, and how to go to 5.5. We cannot coach, but sometimes you can read into the comments of the judges how to achieve a higher score. A lot of the best competitors, they followed 1 or 2 or 3 courses of judges, because it's so, when you train as a competitor and you're tasting and you have your friends and your mom and your colleagues in front of you and they have to score you, they will never give you a 1.5 or a 2. They will give you a 3, 4, 4.5, even 5s. But that's not the correct way of training. So, because it's easy to get a 5 as a competitor, but it's very difficult to give a 5 as a judge. It's very, very difficult. And I will never forget when Stephen Morrissey became world champion. The next year, he became a judge. He was invited without any formal training, but he was invited in a national championship to give scores. And he told me, oh my God, that was a wake-up call, because one of the first competitors that came up, I gave him a 5 or 5.5. And then the head judge asked me, why did you give it a 5, 5.5? Well, it was amazing. I liked his explanation and everything. And then the head judge said, so it was better than your presentation at the Worlds because you received a 4.5? And he said, oh, no, not at all. So you see, so it's very difficult to give a 5. So a lot of, when you follow a course of a judge's course, you will realize how difficult it is. And it's easier as a competitor to say, yeah, when I train, this is a 4, this is a 5. So and you have examples that followed the courses. For example, Agnieszka Rodzieska, who became world champion in Amsterdam. She started also a WCEP course here at my school, and she started here how to know how judges judge you, and that's so important.
If you know how they judge you as a competitor, you already have your steps ahead of the others. If you don't,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she took that away and trained with that in mind, and she became one of the best competitors, I suppose, because she competed in almost everything, right?
In almost everything, yes. And we had a deal that I'm also emceeing a lot of world championships, and we had a deal that as long as she continues competing, I will continue to MC. So.
Nice. So, but let's talk about it because that's another actor of the coffee competitions, the Emcee. Mm-hmm. And so at first I met you as a stage manager in a French championship, but hey, then I see you like as an Emcee in the world championship. So I was like, hey, this guy is something. And so like, can you tell us a little bit more about it and how do you become an Emcee at the World Coffee Championship? Because you're not the only one. There's a few. We all know about Stephen Layton also. Yeah. And now it's open to more people, I think. In the last one, I've seen a lot of people, for example.
Yeah, so we have a team of 6 MCs. Stephen is one, Marcus Boni is one, I am one. So the 3 of us, they're asking, I hope they will ask me again, but normally we're always asked. And so we can go. We pay the trip ourselves. So it's as a judge, we have to pay our trip ourselves and we go over there. It's all voluntarily work. But the first time it happened that I was asked as a MC by accident. That there were in lack of MCs, and I was there present as the chair of the WCE. And they asked, "Hey Bart, can you fill in the gap because we are lacking of MCs? Please, can you help us out?" And I said, "Of course, we will help each other out." And so I started emceeing. I had no clue what I was doing, but I think I was lucky. As Belgians, we learn a lot of languages in school.
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget it. So the first I had to do was in English. Then the second one I had to do was in French or in another language. And then the third one was in Spanish. Oh, I speak a little bit of Spanish. And then the third one was in German, so I speak a little bit of German. And then I saw the camera guys like going like, what are you doing? And then the last one was in Dutch, so I could do it again. So I was so lucky though. So it was 5 languages, one after the other, that I could speak. I don't know the correct order anymore. And then they said, "How many languages do you speak?" I said, "Yeah, 5. "Oh, you have to keep doing this. We will ask you every year." And so I had the best coach next to me, which was Marcus Boni,
mm-hmm.
and very good presenter, one of the best.
Yeah, he's very fun, very lively, and really like on his ground, on his feet.
Yeah, so he was my coach of emceeing, and so I continued doing that. Yeah.
Cool. And I suppose like how is your day as an MC? Because you it's really like a special place, because you're there to give like some sort of rhythm, I suppose, to the competition, and you have the messages to give to the audience and to the competitors also,
Yeah.
talking about the sponsors. But there's like a special moment that you have with each competitor at a very special time as well. In general, it's after, right? It's after they competed.
Yeah.
So then because I've been a competitor, and most of the time I completely screw it up. And when you do that, your brain, you have no brain. So like having someone to interview you is like, really, how do you deal with that? And also, how do you deal with these weird situations that are a bit difficult? So you're there to, like, I suppose, lift them up a little. And then you have the competitors who are also like somewhere else, but just because everything went so perfectly for them. So you just pick them up at a very special moment. How is that experience for you?
Well, it's the first year it was very difficult to ask the correct questions, but because now I know that you have some people that are so closed, and if you answer them something, it's yes, I did.
Yeah.
And if you ask it to a Italian guy, one question and he's gone, and you have to stop him after 10 minutes. So you have to learn that a little bit from what countries do like to speak, and other countries that don't like to speak. So you have to arrange a little bit your questions, that you don't ask the same questions at every competitor, but like the closed questions at countries that don't like to speak, and the open questions to baristas that who like to speak. So that's why I go a lot backstage and start talking to them, and how their English is, or how if they like to talk. I talk also with the coaches. Do you have some questions that they would love to respond to? And sometimes they give me questions. So it's not that difficult, but you have to read a little bit of barista, and you have to be able to react immediately if you feel that they don't feel at home. Sometimes you have to do it before the presentation because there is a technical problem. The camera guys are not ready. The live stream is not ready. I had a lot of issues in some countries. And then you have to adapt, and then you have to be ready with some questions. So I always have some backup questions in my mind somewhere.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, even as a stage manager, but also like as an MC, I know for a fact that competitors really enjoy have you around, because you're a man who can calm down, and you're not stressing them out. And that's the last thing a competitor want, is to have someone that adds another factor of stress.
Yeah, I had sometimes I have the most strange answer and then I was perplexed. I didn't have any words anymore. I said, how it was last year, I guess. And so I asked the competitor, so how is it finally to be here on a world national stage to present your country? And then he said, this is a dream coming true. I said, oh yeah, why? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm already dreaming 2 years to be interviewed by you. Okay, how I was so perplexed, and I didn't know how to answer. And he said, yes, this is a dream. My family and I'm so happy that it's your schedule, but I don't work all day. So he was so happy. So it was strange, and it gave me a good feeling, I have to say.
It's amazing. You're also front of the stage after all, and I'm not surprised. It's fun. It's fun, and I can picture him, and I can see where it comes from. It's good.
The most important as MC and also as a stage manager, next to be that everything is running fluently, is to put the competitor at ease.
Right.
And sometimes you feel they don't want to talk because they are in their own zone. And sometimes you feel that they're freaking out and they want to talk with somebody, but they can't because the coach cannot come on stage. And then you see that, and you go next to them, not with the mic, you put the mic aside and you start talking with them. Hey, how do you feel? Blah, blah, blah. And then you start asking, and then you see that they're coming to ease, and then, oops, okay, come, start.
Yeah.
And the same as a stage manager. I will never forget with in France with Marco.
Yeah.
He had to do his presentation, and he had a whole setup of siphons. I don't know if you remember that.
Of course I do, yeah.
So for people who don't know that, so backstage, imagine you have a lot of baristas stressing out, all their coaches stressing out, running around, and Marco had 3 to 4 siphons, a setup with all those siphons, and by accident a barista bumped into it, and one of them or two of them broke. So if you know Marco, he is twice the size of me in all the things you go. He was a boxer or something, and I was there like, oh my god, he was ready to explode. He had to go up 10 minutes or 15 minutes later, and then, oh my god, how I'm going to do this? And then, okay, I have an idea. Marco, you and me outside now. And I took empty boxes with me of carton. I put it in front of him and said, okay, you have 30 seconds. These are empty boxes. Do with it whatever you want. And he freaked out on the boxes. And then we went inside, and before we went inside, I said, okay, now you go to your zone and concentrate again. Do you have spare siphons? Yes. And he did it. You see, it's small things, but you have to help and read the people instead of, yeah.
And no one noticed because it was just the two of you. Some people, of course, know the story, but it's like nothing happened because I remember his presentation. And it's like nothing really happened. So it was magic for sure.
Yeah.
And it was a very complicated routine. So I cannot imagine if he came with a stressed mind. So yeah. So Marco de Sousa, for those who don't know, and who became the year after the French champion.
Exactly.
And there's one last actor that I would like to talk about is the volunteers, because the championships are only possible because of volunteers also. And I want to stress out as well, because that's how I started, and that's how a lot of people start also as a volunteer. Can you explain why you think it's also important to be involved as a volunteer?
Well, the same. If you have the idea to compete one day, starting as a volunteer, helping backstage or in front of stage, taking the time. For example, it's maybe it sounds stupid to take the time, but it's one of the best volunteer jobs ever, because you see everything. You can listen to all of it. You're not bothered by some person. You're in front or just behind the barista, and you can see and follow everything. If you have the luck, and before you could taste the beverages, now it's not allowed anymore, but you were the first one to take the beverage and to taste it. So it's a wonderful job. And because, if you don't have volunteers, the competition will not exist anymore. It's not only in the coffee competitions, but it's with every organization. It's based on volunteers. And if you don't have volunteers, you need budget to pay people. Budget comes from sponsors, so you need more sponsors. And it's, with the COVID, for example, right now, it will be very difficult to find new sponsors, and I hope we are lucky that we can continue with the sponsors we have now.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about it right now. I just wanted to add also, you can become a volunteer even if you're not interested in a competition or become a competitor yourself, because I've seen a lot of people for the first time in the coffee community as a volunteer. They just decided they've heard that they on the Facebook page, for example, of the SCA France, that they were looking for volunteers, and they just appeared out of nowhere in the coffee community, and they could create the network very easily like this, because most of the community really is here, or at least some of the most important and knowledgeable people will be around. So it's just a unique moment to be able to do that. And I would just wanted to say that totally agree with you on a chronometer job, because that's one I did, for example, at the World Championship in Seattle, and I was at the final as well, and it was just. It was crazy to be there, and you're a little piece of that, of course, but it's grand. And I remember I was I was the chronometer guy for Charlotte Malaval. And you know, just being there after seeing her winning the French championship, it was just a French community also around. It's just it's a big moment, I think. So do it. Yeah, you should definitely all do it.
You get to know a lot of people. You get to know if you have like an example of barista, national wide or international wide. You get to meet them. You get to talk with them, and it's a really open world and. Yeah, it's new friendships are made behind the scenes.
Exactly, yeah. And you mentioned a little before the backstage and the atmosphere there. It's pretty unique as well. So and you're gonna see a lot of things there and their equipment and their little tricks and everything. So how about COVID and how about, for example, the situation this year? What's going on?
Well, it's a very difficult year. So, as I mentioned before, I was going to stop as being chair of the WCE board, but I decided together with the others that I will stay another year because it's a very difficult year. So we don't know yet if the competitions will go through in Melbourne or in Poland. We don't know yet. We have to wait every week and see how the situation in those countries are continuing, because it can be easy to say, hey, you know what, this year we skip it and bring everything to next year. But yeah, we have champions that competed this year. Maybe it is their dream to compete at the World Championship. So what do? Do we bring both of them? So we don't organize championships in 2021 national-wise because we already have a champion. Will we invite 2 champions next year, which is difficult too, because now time schedules are already so close. It's so difficult to add more countries or more competitors. If we say we will cancel it, so we will have no revenue, what do we do with staff members of the SCA? What we will do with the exhibition? We have signed contracts. So it's not that easy just to say, hey, you know what, leave it alone. So we have to look at day by day, week by week. The staff has a lot of meetings with Melbourne and with Warsaw, and it will be decided in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, there's definitely a lot at stake. And as you said before, you mentioned everything depends also on the sponsors, and they have to follow you on every case, whether it's been cancelled and especially, I mean, if it's retained, because there's a lot at stake for them as well. I guess you only become a sponsor because you want visibility back.
Exactly.
But you need people on the event and competitors too.
Exactly. So it's complicated from different sides, and that's why it will not be decided in one night. It will be decided with a lot of meetings, with maybe with some key national countries. Of course, with all the sponsors. I think they will be the first to know what will happen, and they will be advised, of course. Especially also in Warsaw and in Melbourne. The organizer of the show. So in Warsaw is SCA organizing ourselves. So there we can decide ourselves, but so it's too early to do that now. Yeah.
But there's good hope for next year that everything will be behind us and we can go on as usual. But yeah, I mean, if we have double the amount of competitors, it's gonna be a headache to organize for sure. But it might be a possibility then.
It might be a possibility. We have different situations on the table, and once again, we will decide in a couple of weeks. It's not me; it's a whole bunch of people that will decide. It will not be an easy decision, and we will have comments. I know that for sure. Some people will be happy, others will not be happy, but.
So what is the future of coffee competitions if we put COVID on the side? What is going to be new and what is going to be your role? Are you going to be elected for life? Can we agree about this now?
That I will be active for life? Oh my God, I hope not. I do like it, but sometimes you have to decide for yourself that the added value you have in a group, maybe if somebody else takes your spot, can be a more or a new added value.
New blood. That's wise for sure.
For myself, I think it's time to step aside, not totally aside, but from the chair, and maybe somebody else can take over. For the competitions, so in 2018, we started backstage and with a lot of meetings, a new, I will say differently. We started in Dublin with teams and other format of the competition a little bit. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Teams. So that was 3-4 years, and now we started in 2018. In September, we had the first meeting of how can we change the competitions. So we had, first of all, we changed and we rewrote the purpose and the goal of the WCE, so the competitions. We worked on that. So again, it's with volunteers. So it's not decided in one day, in 1 week, in 1 month. So it takes a long time. Then you have to talk with the sponsors and with the key persons in the organization. So then we had a new purpose and the goal of the competitions. And then we started to break up every competition. And now we are working on the goal of every competition. And so that decided in beginning, last year, we had the last meeting of that. And now we are going to change step by step, one competition. We have a schedule until 2024, 2025 with a new vision, with the new goal of the competitions. I cannot go into details. I will not do that.
How do you know it was my next question?
People knowledge. So, but we will have changes. So now we lost a year, of course. We will see it will go to 2025 with some small changes to become at the end, not a totally new competition, of course not, but some. You have to listen to the baristas, you have to listen to the community, and you have to adapt that.
Right. I do have one question that I keep in mind more and more. It's how the producer can be one that is that also gets get away with something from the competition, and maybe not the one farmer that has the coffee that wins the competition, but most of them, because you remember maybe the name of the producer of the coffee that was used by the winning barista, but how about the others, and who are just amazing coffees as well, right?
That's one of the things that we are working on. We realize more and more it's not a one-person competition, but it's a team competition. Mm-hmm. Barista itself, who is a presenter, who has to do it in front of the judges. But then next to it, you have the coach, you have the roaster. Sometimes you have the boss paying for the money, the hotel, the trip, and everything. And of course, and one of the most important, you have the farmer. So we are working on a way of putting those people more in the spotlight. Of course, the farmer, because I think they need it the most, but also the roaster, because sometimes he's roasting a lot of samples. They are not paid for that. They are investing also. So it's a team of people, the coach. Why not bring the name of the coach on the screen, or doing an interview with them? So we are looking, we don't know the answer yet, but we know we have to do them, and we have to put the team around the barista more in the picture. We have a couple of ideas how we can do that. So, but we have to look into time-wise or organization. So it's easy to say, for example, we would do an interview with all the producers.
Yes, of course.
Technically, to do that of 70 countries, 70 producers, if you do it for one, you have to do it for all of them. So is it possible to interview all of them online? We are looking into that, for example. That's an example. Same with the roasters, same with the coach. And how can we do it that maybe not during the presentation, but people can look into it in a second window on their computer and have more information about it. So maybe people can buy the coffee from the roaster, a link to it. So we have a lot of possibilities, and that's only one small thing.
Out of everything you're looking at. Well, that sounds very exciting. I'm very looking forward to it for sure, because that's going to enrich, many times more what we get out of it, even for the viewer, as you say, because you can follow up, and it's not just a video, which is already good, but you can go much deeper in the story of that coffee and that barista if you know all the actors. And anyway, all the winners will tell you that it's a team work. And even if you win all alone in a national, then it won't happen. Again, there's no miracle at the World Championship. It's always, you need a team for sure.
But with every change that we do, we have to be careful that it stays equal for all the countries. Because it's easy to say, for example, hey, with the new format of the competition, for example, it's not on the table, but I'm just saying something like, hey, you need to use all new pitchers every milk beverage you make, and you have to take it out of the carton and plastic, blah, blah, blah. Well, for countries, European countries like France, Belgium, US, and yes, it's just finding a budget.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the producing countries, or baristas who don't have a sponsor, it's not equal. You can say we will give a machine of every sponsor to every barista. Yeah, well, maybe here it is possible in Europe and US, but not in countries where it's logically not possible to send a material. The same with ingredients. We can say we open the milk beverage, but maybe milk is not available in some of those countries.
Yeah. So it's always something you have to keep in mind. It's equality behind for the different countries, and you don't want to. I mean, already we can say that somehow they are disadvantaged because it's always like a question of budget and access to equipment and ingredients. But you don't want to add more on what is already difficult. Yeah, but it's
on the other hand, we have the strong countries that are asking for new things, new rules and new ingredients and new opportunities, and then you have to think of the countries who don't have the budget. So we have to find the right equilibrium in between. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. Okay, so that's a lot to look forward to. First, back to competitions, and also like see what the committee will find as a new way to turn this competition into something even more rich. Yeah, that's very cool, and a lot to look forward to. I'm also looking forward to seeing you MC the next World Coffee Championship.
I hope so. I don't know where yet, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add? Do you have something to say? What if people tell you like, well, I don't like competitions?
It's possible. I just want people who don't like the format of the competition is if you don't like it, okay, it's okay, but don't break it down, because a lot of people do like it. A lot of young baristas in Asia, in Arabia, in producing countries, they are looking up to the World Championships, to the competition. For us and for you, it became normal because we are in it for 10 years, even longer, 15 years. So for us, it's normal, and we are looking for new things, new people, new methods. But for young baristas, it's like, we talked about the Formula One. I want to compete in the Formula One, and maybe it will change the format, yes, but it is an organization that is big, becomes bigger and bigger. So it's difficult and more difficult, especially when we became a world organization. And before you had the SCA for the US, they only had to take consideration the US citizens. Then you had Europe. Now we are globally. That's you have to take care of a lot of people. So if you don't like it, okay, don't mind, but don't break it down. If you do like it, but you have some comments, please go behind your computer, laptop, write a mail, give us suggestions. If you see something on a competition that is wrong, don't complain, but say, hey, I saw this. Maybe I have a suggestion to adapt this. And again, we are working with volunteers. So become a volunteer and help us make the competition better, easier, more exciting.
What is the email address?
I don't know by heart, but it's something.
we can look for it, and then we will put it in a comment in a podcast and YouTube video, so people can look for it also on Google, of course. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, because you say it touches a lot of people, I just remember one of the figures you give, like live on a live stream, you get 50 to 60,000 people. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's big. It's a huge number.
I remember that, I don't know what competition was 2 or 3 years ago. I was asking Alex Burnson, who is responsible for the media and everything. So I was looking, I had to win time because we had a technical problem somewhere. So I had to find some information to talk to the people. So I asked Alex quickly, how many viewers we have? And he said, 55,000. I said, what?
You didn't know either, yeah.
No, I didn't know. And then so I went in front of the camera and then I thanked all of them one by one.
You could save time. Well done.
Yeah. I like to do my selfies, as you used my profile picture. So on every competition, I'm doing a selfie with them.
Yes, that's a good one. Actually, do you have what is your best? Maybe it's difficult, but what is your best memory of all these years of being involved in the competitions?
Oh, I have a lot of them. For example, the picture that you put it on, the lady next to me on the left side of me, Jessie. She became a volunteer. She was an Emcee that was in Shanghai. And she became 2 times a national champion. She started that's, if I see that picture, is like, oh my God, you see, you have to start somewhere. And yeah, she is 2 times, I think she was cup tasters and once barista. So in many levels. But the most for me taking was in Amsterdam, when Agnieszka won the Barista Championships, and not because it was the first woman. It was a great day that day, of course, but she started her career here.
Yeah.
And then we became so close friends, and then I couldn't, and I didn't I didn't do the award ceremony because I couldn't do it, because I was in a small corner, and then when I heard her name as becoming the first place, I was like, okay, the male that was crying in the corner, and then I was like doing like this, nobody saw it, I hope so, and then I saw her a few weeks later, and then I saw it also in Boston, and then I said, you know what, I never told you this, but I couldn't announce you last year because I had the tears, and yes, I know, I saw it. I said, nobody saw it. She said, yes, I saw it. And then she showed me a video.
Oh, no.
The camera is going like this, and I'm only a fraction of a second in the picture, and then she said, see, you were crying. So that for me was one of the most taking moments in my career. Yes.
And you told me also that you have a souvenir that is sitting right next to the room where you train her as a judge.
Oh. Yes. So I have an osmosis system here from Everpure Painter, who is also a sponsor. And so backstage, I think you saw it in Seattle, for example, they're asking the baristas to sign the cover of the osmosis system. And I lobbied for it. And now I have the one from Amsterdam. hanging here in my shop with Agnieszka. Signed it as a champion. So the circle is a little bit round. She started here. Well, she started herself. I didn't do anything. I just gave the location here. It's herself. So all credit to Agnieszka, not to me, of course. But her name is back here on the cover of Amsterdam, where she won. So the circle is a little bit around. So I'm so happy that I have. Yeah.
You can. Well, I didn't ask you, what is your favorite coffee competition out of all of them?
I like, as an MC or as a spectator or as a competitor, coach, or in what?
Is it different for each category?
Yes, but as MC, I like cupping.
Yeah, it's fun. Huh?
It's so exciting, especially when it goes the same level, and then the last cup is deciding everything. That's the best scenario you can have. And if you have a good MC, he can play on it, or he or she can play on it, but you have to know the rules, you have to know the numbers, and if you know and follow it, you can make it so exciting. That's really nice. The interviews, and as a coach, barista, because it's so complex, and as a judge, Coffee and Good Spirits.
So of course, I knew the answer. But I suppose there are a lot of bad stuff to drink also from the coffee.
Yes. Oh, yes. I can tell you a lot of things, but I will not do that. But oh my God, it has some really bad things. Yeah.
But you have to drink everything. I mean, at least a sip of everything.
At least 2 good sips, because if you don't take big sips, the competitor can see that you took only a small sip and he can complain. So you have to take 2 good sips. Sometimes you want to sip more, but you can't.
At least you have both. Okay, that's fun. Do I have another question? I want to talk about it forever, but we have to get to an end. Yes, last one question. When are you going to be a competitor?
Me? Never.
Never?
Oh, never. Sometimes when I do a judge training, for example, the most of them I did in France with Michael, and then he asked me to do a routine, even in front of the judges that became friends. I'm shaking, I'm all over the place. That's not for me. No. I can never do that.
Cup testing.
Oh, cup testing. I think my coffee will be all over the place.
You think you'll shake also with a spoon?
Yeah. I saw it happening here in Belgium with someone, and then every time he took a spoon, all the coffee was gone.
Okay.
So I cannot do that.
So no chance for us to see you compete. Okay, fine.
I don't know.
Always. It's been fun. Thank you for your time after a very long and tiring day, I'm sure, because you don't have all your staff with you, so you have to work for sure.
It's me. I have to thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and to the French community. So it's always I always have fun with you guys. So.
It's cool. And Nasco is giving us a great compliment. This was one of the best coffee interviews ever. Here you go. Look at that. Thanks, Nasco. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And come back to Rain or Shine soon, because we love having you here too. And Bart, if you want to talk about something, or if you want to, even have a conversation with someone you love in coffee and you want to share with us, you're most welcome always.
Okay. If I can make a suggestion, if you need a producer, I know a producer from, she's a Belgian, but she lives in Guatemala, Ruki.
Oh, of course, yes.
You can always ask her to talk about coffee, and she will always be open for that. Wow.
Okay. Well, if we can have Ruki with us, that would be amazing for sure. Let's make it happen. Okay. Cool. On that note, bye everybody, and thank you again, Bart, and see you soon.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Ciao.